Hi, welcome to Rich Media Design Productions' next video. This tutorial is going to be more about putting together an idea and getting those parts for the idea to come together. This is going to entail putting together a desktop background image similar to the one that you're looking at now with the apple, although it's going to be a different subject matter. I've chosen to use a Camaro, a 1967 Camaro. It actually is dear to my heart because I used to own one. Unfortunately, I got rid of it some years back, and I wish I hadn't. But anyway, that's another story. Let's move on. Here is the image that I ended up working on and finishing. This is a nice background desktop image. For anybody, actually. If you're into cars, this is a really nice one. Actually, if you're into cars, you can actually use whatever car you're most interested in. But anyway, this is the finished product, and we're going to discuss how I arrived at the images, why I got particular images, and some of the things that you can do to get those images. One in particular way of getting an image is by using the internet. You can actually type in what the image is that you want to get almost precisely, and you'll have a range of things to look at. Let's take a look. Here I have Google set up, and I'll put Camaro, and already it's a 1967 there. I should have pulled it when I had a chance there. 1967. And say OK. You'll notice that there's images here already for you to pull from or look at, and go down and you can actually pull them off the internet. And for example, here's one. Really nice one. Looks like a very low res one, and if I could pull into it, you could see why. Here you could see why. See these lines here? This is not part of a background. This is actually the fact that it's become pixelized, and it's not very good, so it's a very low resolution picture. Anyway, we're not going to stay too long with this, and we're going to move on because we got other things to talk about. But this is how you can get those images. Why would you go to the internet? Because they're low resolution. You're able to use them on your desktop image because it's they use 72 dpi, which is dots per inch, and so does your background image on your desktop computer. So computer desktop, I should say, image. And so you're in the right area to get that image. You don't have to do any reducing or anything like that. Okay, we'll get rid of this, and we're going to bring up the actual working image that I started with. Now, I must go back here a little bit because I have two folders that I just almost forgot to show you. One of them is called Gathered Images, and the other one I called Images Used. Now, these are obviously the images that I ended up using. Now, this one is going to kind of go over some of the things that I tossed away or I didn't end up using after all. Okay, the first one here is a 67 Camaro SS Fender Emblem, and it's a good image. There was no reason why I couldn't have used it, but for some reason I decided not to. But it's a good image. Here's a Camaro, very nice image, and I think what I liked about it was that I could have cut it out using the pen tool, like I've shown you before how to use a pen tool, but decided not to because there was other images that I was kind of like leaning towards, and you'll see why. Okay, here we have another one. This one ended up in the trash can also because there was a lot of issues with it, but although it started out kind of nice. And here I'll give you an example of what it is. First of all, there was gonna have to be a lot of color correcting because this one is very green. Here you have a guy picture in there. It almost looks like a ghost, so you're gonna have to touch that up. I kind of like this idea, but that really wasn't my car, so I said I have to myself that I'd have to fix that up. If you notice, the grill has some problems here that need to be touched up. There's a paper on here, some kind of a signage that went on here, so I didn't like it. Then if you look down at the wheel, there was grass stuck to the wheel, and it was just a lot of work for something that I really didn't think needed a lot of time. I needed to get into and spend a lot of time on. So the next one I moved on, and this one turned out to be a nice photograph for me to pull down from the internet. But I think the reason why I didn't go for it was because of the angle. The angle was, you know, kind of coming down. Even though it would have worked. It would have worked definitely to a lot of degrees, but I decided not to use it after all. Okay, the next one is the same one. Actually, why do I have this one in here? Oh, okay. I think this is the working model. I was going to start to clean it up, but I actually just shied away from it because of all the issues that we talked about. Okay, next one. This happens to be my Camaro. I was going to use this one. But then I said no, the angle's kind of weird. I didn't like that one, so I thought I'd change the angle and move it, you know, flop it. But that didn't seem right because it was the angle and the foreshortening was kind of, you know, rough. I didn't like it after all. Then I looked at 2 more shots of my car, and that back end was definitely out. I wanted the front end. This one needed more front end. I mean, that meant that I had to build it. Then I had to get rid of pictures of my son here, and I think I have my other son in here too. Yeah, he was in it. Okay, next picture was a nice one. Again, I liked it a lot, and I think I could have used it. There probably was no reason why I didn't use it, but the reason, if I can recall, because I actually did this background some weeks ago, was the fact that it had the disappearing headlights, and I didn't have that with my car. So let's go on to the next one, and that's an Eagle. I got that one from the internet. I was going to use it as a background, kind of like an element of, you know, power, but decided not to use it after all. Then I picked out some gears that I thought I could use as an element of power with the, you know, with the Camaro, and that one got thrown in the trash can too. Then I went for some rivets because I thought I might want to have that, you know, that look, that, you know, rivets and, you know, grills and things like that. So I picked out these rivets were kind of nice when I first picked them up, but then I noticed that if you look at them again closely, you can see some definite low resolution artifacts in there, so I didn't use it. Okay, moving on, you'll see some of the images that I did use, and here's one of them. This is the Camaro. There were issues with it, and I hope you can see that or remember what was done to it when we actually see the actual work get put together. Here's a red, how would you say, a red reflection of some type from the sun, and that had to get straightened out. There was too much light here, too much reflection here, and in the back here, so those kind of things had to be straightened out. I wanted to straighten out this line because it was kind of like reflective of something that was too hard to discern, I think. So anyway, that was an issue, but I decided this was the best. Okay, moving on. Here's a brush metal that I used, and it's actually used to a minor degree, but you'll see later on when we go into the actual work. Here is an emblem. It's the Camaro flag, and it was definitely used. This one here is it's got the shadow in it and everything that actually I did. I cut it out using the tools that we used to cut out with. And here's another one. This is the PSD, or the Photoshop file, where I actually put the shadow down in it, cut it out and put the shadow in. Then I saved it as a JPEG. Here's Camaro 2. Now, the reason I call it Hot 2 is because it just needed to get edited and photograph needed to be touched up. So it was my way of talking to myself, which you're gonna have to do too. Anyway, I pulled this from the internet. It's a Camaro logo, and I liked it a lot. And actually is the year 67, 68, I think, and 67, 68, 69, I believe it was. Okay, and here's a screw that I actually used for the image, and this grade here. I think this plate is really nice because it kind of gives you that manly car feeling, right? Okay, so getting back to, I'll put this away now, and then we're going to go back to the Camaro image, and I'm going to kind of click things on and kind of talk about it and see how I put things together. Okay, here's the first image. Now here's the grade that you just finished seeing, and that was my background. I wanted to put a background on it so that it tie everything together. It has kind of like that manly thing. Then the next image you'll see here is I added some color to it, and basically I got the gradient tool here, and I picked a very nice cool blue, and if I could just pick it out for you, you can see them here. It's a cool blue, and then there. So if we did this, you could see the blue that I use in that range. It's over here. Then the other blue is here. It's kind of a steel gray or steel blue. So anyway, those are the colors. And I use the gradient tool there, and actually I gradiated the image so that it had more kind of a half and half rather than dark and then mostly light, or vice versa. Anyway, so it was half and half. Then I put in another image where I put a pin light screen to it, and you'll see what I mean by pin light. If I did this, it actually makes it a little sharper. So anyway, that's in there. Next up is this frame. Now this frame wasn't built this size. I actually had to size it down and make it look like a sign that would fit it within the the general layout. The sign was built actually, well, I'd say a fourth larger than this, and then I reduced it down. Another component that I made for the sign was within the inside part. You could see when it appeared, and I'm going to go back over to this one here first and kind of talk about the layers. What's involved in this one is that I'm going to put it right next to so you can see right in this area. Okay, it's got a cast shadow. What happens when I take off the cast shadow? You can barely see it at the bottom here, but it does make a difference. Then we have an inner shadow. Now that one doesn't really make a difference. Why? Because I thought it might just make a tiny difference. I left it on there because it was really insignificant. So, you know, taking it off or leaving it on would have made a big difference. Okay, the next one is an inner glow. That went bye-bye too. Then the bevel emboss. That was the biggest difference, or the biggest tell that this image has, because it has you know, big frame, nice big frame. Okay, then I gave it a satin finish, and you could see the arrangement, or the, you know, calculations that I put on here so that it would, you know, come out the way it does. So, you know, if you want to repeat it, you can actually look this over and then do the same when you do your own. Okay, color overlay. If I did this, you can see that the color overlay made a big difference. It kind of popped it out. Okay, see that? Okay, then the last thing is stroke. That one didn't really make a difference either. Not too much. Okay, so actually stroke you could have left out. You could have left out drop shadow, and I think inner shadow too. These three things you could have left out and it still would have looked nice. Okay, say okay. Now I'm going to add this piece back on. This one here is that one grade that we showed you earlier, and basically I got it and I kind of pieced it together so that it has a smaller grain, rather than, you know, like one big piece has a big grain. I wanted this kind of like a, you know, sandpaper, rough, but not, you know, too big. Anyway, moving on. Here is the next one, and I added the rivets on this. Now, if you notice, I had one rivet, and you guessed it, I took one rivet and I copied and pasted every one of them along the line. Now, the way you do that, and I'll just give you an example of how it's done real quick here. I can get the triangular marquee tool up here, come in and select it, right? Then I press Option and Shift. Then I go back up here to my Move tool. Again, Option and Shift, and you see the double arrow. Now I can actually, oops, nothing was there. So anyway, I'll get it. I had the wrong layer selected. You have to have that layer selected anyway, so that's what happens. See that? As long as you have Option and Shift, and the little ants are still circling, you can triple and so on. All right, those don't work for me, so I'm going to erase them, but that's how it was done. We'll move on. Okay, deselect top here. All right, I'm going to move on to adding this ribbon that I cut out. And I actually, I think it was a red ribbon, and I added a drop shadow. You can see on the layer styles here that I added a drop shadow. You can see when I click it off and on how it affects the image. Okay, so that's fine. But I think that what I wanted to show you here was that on this, on the adjustment under image on the top of your selection here, you can see where it says hue and saturation. You can actually take a color and actually change it. See that? And I think this was red when I right into the red area, right in there somewhere. And I changed it to the blue. I'm gonna say cancel because this would have to be in the middle here, and I don't want to have to. There it is. Okay. Anyway, blue. I'm keeping a theme going here. There's kind of gray blues going on. Okay. Next is the emblem that I showed you earlier. That I cut out. I added a shadow, and I cut it out using, of course, I want you to guess, pen tool. Right. Okay. Cut it out. I added the shadow. Everything got put in its place. I did some reduction. How do you reduce something? You go over to edit, transform, scale. You see now you're able to enlarge by placing your finger on the shift key and pressing it down. You can actually keep it in relationship, or the proportions in relationship to each other. Otherwise, if you don't, this is what happens. See that? Actually gets distorted. Okay. So don't forget to put your finger on the shift key, and all right, let's see. I'll just say don't apply, and it'll go back to its original shape. Okay, next is American made. Now this actually should be. I'll just go through Camaro first. Camaro's at the bottom here, and if you'll notice, there's a particular style here that this was actually taken from the internet, and I wanted to actually repeat that, and of course I couldn't find that in the internet, so I had to redo it somehow. So here's what I did. I found a nice typeface, and then I typed it up, sized it down, made it fit into that frame. Then I did some things to it, like I added a outer glow. See that? Kind of popped it out. I added inner bevel. See the difference there? It gave it a outer kind of like a bevel on the outside. And you can actually see what that outside looks like here. Now you can fool around with these dimensions here, fool around with the color. You can actually change the contour and stuff like that to see what works for you. Now this is all about how you feel about it, how it looks to you, so don't be afraid. Okay, now and last, the color that was used for the outside there, and there it is, on, off, on, off. Okay, I'm going to go here and show you basically what I had to do. Okay, I wanted to pick up the colors that were within that edge. This one doesn't pick it up as nicely as I ended up with, but I wanted to get something that your eyes are actually going to see first, and I think that was going to be the one you're going to see first. So I actually had to come up with some colors, and basically they're in the blue area again. So I went dark blue, light blue, dark blue, light blue, dark blue, and you can actually move these around. See that? Move them around, and that'll give you, you can actually grab one and pull it, and it's gone. Put it back, pull it, it's gone. If you let go out here, it's gone for good. Okay, so anyway, I got it back, and I'm going to cancel it because I obviously didn't put everything exactly right, and whether it made a big difference or not, I really don't think so. Remember, this is all about how you feel about it. Okay, so I say okay to that. Now next is the last thing is the Camaro that I cut out, and here you can see where I actually did some things to it. Straightened out the lines in here. I took away that real brightness that was right in here and right in here. I think there was one right here too. What I did was I went over here to dodge and burn and sponge. Dodge actually makes things brighter, and burn actually makes things duller, and I can kind of give you an idea of that. This is burn, right? And I'm going to 65 brush, but I'm going to go a little bit larger so you can see it over here. See, when I go down to this and I burn it, it's taking it away. See, that became more blue. Okay, back up, back up. I clicked it a bunch of times so that it would burn. So I'm backing it up, backing it up, backing it up, backing it up. Okay, that's about where it was. Okay, so here you have it, American made. All the things are there except for the shadow. I created a shadow. And how did I do that? Well, basically I took this image here. Why don't we do it for you? I clicked outside of it, okay? Then I went up. What is this called? This is called the magic wand tool, okay? Now, I used the magic wand tool, then I selected outside of it, then I went and selected the select up at the menu, and then I selected inverse, which means that what is selected on the outside will now be selected on the inside, which means that it'll select the image of the car. So this is live inside where this used to be live outside. Now, what I did was I create another layer, new layer. Then I got a dark color, like a blue, dark black rather. I'll just leave that color, and then I use the bucket tool. Bucket tool is near the gradient tool, right in that area there. Okay, what happened here? Okay, something happened. I'm gonna have to start all over. Okay, outside. Oops, nope. Outside. Invert. Bucket tool. It's gonna use this color. I picked a layer there, and there it is. And then I'm gonna click the inside there. Okay, now that gets made, and it's going to be used for the shadow. Deselect. I'm going to move it to the back of the car because it's going to hide behind the car. Then I can go over here to image, adjustment. Actually, no, I'm going to go to transform, or under edit, transform, and then I'm going to go to distort and perspective. And using distort perspective, I can actually do some things with it. Okay, you see? Now, had this thing been a little darker, you could see that sort of like that. There's a lot of kind of moving around that you have to do. And what you're going to have to basically do is using those two settings on distort or perspective or even warp. One of these, any one of these, skew, distort, perspective, or combination of all of them to kind of arrive at a shadow placement. Now, what is the shadow placement? Look at cars that you've seen on the internet, photographs of cars where shadows are being projected on the ground, and try to duplicate that. Try to duplicate. You might even use airbrush. Get a dark color and do the airbrush background. That'll work too. If you do it right, it'll work. Okay, so that concludes the story of the Camaro, and just toss it away. And I hope you have fun doing your own. And, you know, take some chances, you know, do some things. See you next time.